Imagine you have a great idea, fantastic idea, $1 million idea, but if you're not able to communicate or convey that idea to the proper person, then it's lost.
Okay, guys, welcome to the BLUMEx podcast. Today we have a great shout out to mention. Shout out to MCRO for becoming a continuing sponsor for the podcast. So this episode and future episodes is going to be brought to you by MCRO, who enables businesses to grow through handcrafted digital solutions of the future. MCRO is a web and mobile app development studio with a competent, dedicated, and experienced team focused on solving business challenges through fast to market and producing high performance digital products. If you're looking to turn your destructive ideas into reality or have a reliable strategic tech partner to explore options with for your existing work or for new work, reach out to us and we'll make the introduction for MCRO, and you can have the conversation over a coffee or a Bone Shaker IPA, your choice.
Cool. Boom.
Boom,
Now we're
boom,
here
bro.
With Ravi. Thank you for coming on to our
Thank
BLUMEx
you.
podcast.
You're taking over now?
I am,
You're
right?
gunning for me, man.
Like, you've been interviewing. This is our 25th episode.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the main reason we decided to come on for our 25th, talk a little more about us.
Right.
So guys, for the hidden hand behind BLUMEx, this is Henry, right? He runs pretty much the operations and all the sales of talking to people and bringing them on, selling this podcast to the guest to convince them that, you know, even though we haven't had many episodes, you deserve to come on this. You deserve to come and experience the BLUMEx.
Thank you. I'm actually very honored. I'm usually very shy. That's why I'm always behind the camera, not in front. And it's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling. I mean, like, we started talking earlier before the podcast actually, or before the camera actually started rolling. Is one thing that I have to ask you, like, the first time you heard yourself, the recording, the audio. Couldn't do it.
No, so it wasn't actually this show. I had a professor recorded when I was doing a speech at a high school.
Right.
I gave a keynote speech at like a high school University of Preparedness events. They wanted me to talk about entrepreneurship, and I actually got someone to come and record it because I wanted to see how I was on stage.
Okay.
To this day, I still haven't watched that video. It's still in my computer, but like, man, it's too weird.
Yeah.
First 5 seconds, I'm like, I can't do it.
100%. For me, you asked me, like, have I done anything like this, similar like this? I guess it would be my wedding, man. Like, we got a videographer come in and record everything after the wedding. This is like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And when he was done after like 2-3 months, he gave me the DVD, and I popped it inside maybe once to just make sure that it was the actual thing. Then I just stopped and haven't touched it since.
Nice.
When I heard myself talk, giving that speech, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, funny enough,
Right
like
there.
that was my first time talking in public as well. It was like a wedding speech.
Oh, right.
My cousin's wedding speech was like the first real big one in front of like 500 people at like a brown person's
500
wedding.
people. Okay.
Right. So that was the first thing, and I'm like, hey, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Like, talking in public is definitely a weird experience.
Right.
There's somebody who talked about this on a podcast. I forgot the name, but basically, in the past, if you're ever talking to a large group of people, it's technically because the village is trying to kill you for doing something. You're facing everyone in the village and telling them,
That was
I
not
didn't do
me.
it. You know what I
That
mean?
was not me.
Trying to save yourself being killed. So we have
Right.
this primal sense
Right.
of anytime we're talking to a wider group of people,
Right.
that it's danger because we're about to lose our life.
Right.
And that's why people are scared of people
Right.
speaking in public.
Fight or flight, right?
Yeah. And it's like, that's a cool, interesting take on where that comes from. But it is different when you talk in front of a bunch of people or do talks. I've been doing that for a few years. Definitely a changing experience.
It doesn't show.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Should see me when I started then.
You know what? We throughout the process of this, like
Yeah.
the BLUMEx podcast, you've gone like really good.
Thank you.
Really good. Like
Yeah.
like we know how to peak your like energy level.
Yeah.
We have like techniques and I guess strategies now, if you will.
Yeah.
Once we see that energy dip, we're like, hey, Ravi, let's bring you back up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not gonna share that secret on air, but
That's
I
that
think we have
formula.
the strategy locked
Yeah, it's
down
a formula.
pretty much.
Yeah. And absolutely, man. I mean, that's one of the main key driving forces of you being on here and like definitely giving that feedback and bring it up. This has been a journey in itself.
It really has.
And
Yeah.
part, like you hit on the head, like part of what why I wanted to do was do this, have a podcast like this, is to bring people on, have these kind of conversations, and
Yeah.
get better at having these conversations, because it's so important.
It
right?
really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like it really gives you the opportunity, a platform, to talk about what you're doing and why you're doing the things that you're doing, right? Like I mean, going back to how this all started, for a lot of people that don't know about this, we actually went to high school together.
Yeah.
You know, how
Lamro.
weird was that?
Yeah.
You know, it was really weird because during high school, like we never really interacted.
Not that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, we kind of knew each other, you know, who we were, but never really like hung out or like did anything together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you reach out to me on LinkedIn a few years back, and I'm like, "Yo, Henry." Like,
Yeah,
we knew enough of each other. Like 10 years later, but like we had name recognition.
right.
And I mean, this is when you were leaving an engineering company that you're pretty much managing a department out of,
Well,
right?
during that time, like I did not leave yet. Like I was thinking that I need to take like another direction. Well, just backtrack a little bit. So after university, I joined an engineering company. We did mechanical and electrical engineering design. I was kind of heading the sales department. Like there is no department; it's like a one-man show, right? And we kind of grew that company to be a very, you know, we were proud of, to a company that we were proud of. But the problem was like it wasn't for me. Like I wasn't an engineer. Like it was really difficult for me to wrap my head around that entire engineering process.
Yep.
It was very stressful. So during that time, I was like, you know what? I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what I wanted to be in. And that's when I'm like, hey, you know what? Ravi, you were designing your first application at that time, Appian. And I saw some like, articles about you. I'm like, hey, I went to school with that guy, looks like he's doing pretty well for himself. Like I wanted to reach out, like just to maybe get a couple 2 cents from you, understand what you're doing and how you're doing.
Yep.
But like, that was short-lived.
Yep.
Right? Like we kind of talked on the phone once or twice, but that was it.
Yeah, nothing really came out of that. I mean, it was all timing at that time. Funny
It
enough,
really
like
was, yeah.
you reached out to me to understand more about what's going on in tech, and during that time, I was going through a difficult decision of whether to shut that company down or not. This was
that the same time?
That was around that time,
Oh, wow.
2017,
Okay,
I think.
okay.
So 2017 is when I had to shut down Appian. My core team decided to pursue other things, and they left.
Yeah.
And I was getting married within a few months.
Right.
So I had to really decide, do I revamp this company up and running, or do I focus on the wedding? It was really one or the other at the time. Chose the wife, and yeah. So when you reached out to me, yeah, it was like a bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey man, like, you see an article of me, so that triggered a memory. So you reached out. I mean, not a lot of people do that. They could reach out to people and ask and say like, I mean, your thing was like, I want to go into tech. Like, what's your journey been like? I mean, what we do on a show now on a regular basis?
Exactly, yeah.
You asked that right away. It's like, what's that like? I want to get your experience of it because I know you. We came from the same kind of background. That's one of the most interesting things. Like I've been having these kind of conversations with founders for like 5 years now.
Right.
After like I started my first tech company, like I said, my third company. I realized that it's important to get as much knowledge from other people as possible.
Right.
The more knowledge you can have, that's less likely you'll have mistakes or repeat other people's mistakes.
Right.
So having those discussions became important. And when we first started talking, again, you reached out this year. We really reconnected on LinkedIn.
Again.
Again.
Well,
and,
LinkedIn is super powerful now,
So yeah, man, it's like the professionals networking system, right? Like social network. So it's like Facebook
and
for
people
sharing
are like
memories
super
back in the day.
approachable too, right? I mean, like even with CEOs like of larger companies on LinkedIn, you just have to do it in a very professional manner. As like, hey, you know what? I understand this is what you're doing, and I'm trying to get into this field, or I have some advice to ask you. Are you willing to help out? 100%. I won't say 100% of the time, but very likely that they would respond and offer their 2 cents and help out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember finding that out with the podcast as well, right? One of the newest strategies we decided to do was every time someone liked a video, just message them, right? Have a reach out, like, hey, thank you for liking our video. You can find out more videos like this. Here's a link.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Just a quick reach out, and it's been a huge turnaround.
Right.
So what are like that tool allows you to connect people in a different very quickly. What I liked about LinkedIn, and Gary Vee's one who got me super pumped up about it,
right,
is that every time somebody likes one of your content, everyone in their network gets to see it as well on their stream, on their feed.
Yep.
So it's a very quickly viral effect.
Like, organic too.
Organic as well.
Unpaid.
Or organic. So like 30 likes can get you about 1,500 views easily on a
Yeah.
and name recognition is huge. So for us, I mean, our strategy has really been a double down on LinkedIn. We've been creating content for on posting it on YouTube, resharing it on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been great. The feedback we've been getting.
Oh,
right?
it's been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that like hockey stick growth, right? In the beginning, it was a little hard to like take off, just because people haven't seen something very similar to what we do. Great set. Kudos to Prateep and also Kason and the entire team. Robert that just joined recently, to make this happen, right?
Mhm.
And once you have content out there, it's a lot easier to have that conversation. It's like, hey, this is the podcast. This is what we do. Here are some videos that you can take a look at. And once they see it, they're gonna, they're gonna start. They're more engaged.
Yep.
They're gonna want to see more. And I mean, like these are the type of stuff that we want to do, right?
No, absolutely. And so, like, one of the opportunities we have here, our 25th episode,
25.
is to talk a little bit more of what we have built here, what we're
Yes.
trying to build, what BLUMEx really is. This is something we talk to all our guests about. Why not
Yes.
have an opportunity to celebrate our milestone? So we want to set up a trend every 25th episode, kind of reflect and talk about what we have built, what we've
Yep.
done, and what we're moving towards.
Right.
And I mean, you came onto the project just as we were getting things rolling, right? We already had our first trial run that ended horribly when we had no audio. We didn't have KSM back then, so the audio didn't get recorded properly. We had one system for recording audio, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure that out. You came in on that time, and we started streamlining things, test things faster, right? We got all these different new equipment come in, right?
Yeah.
The actual mics, secondary lav mics
Right,
to record
right.
second set of studio audio. And I mean, you've been there to kind of manage the back end process, right? Make sure the camera guy gets all the equipment he needs to download all the videos.
Yeah.
That merges that goes in the same folder as the one with the audio files.
Right.
Kind of control management, and like there's so much process goes into building something like
Oh
this.
no, there's a lot of work that goes
And-
into making these. Yeah.
Yeah, so we try to talk to other people as much as you can,
Yeah.
share about our problems. Like this is the first time me ever producing anything, you producing anything. Pradeep has been on sets where like he's been the film guy, but we really kind of come together to figure out how do we streamline this, how do we get it going,
Yeah.
what does it look like? There's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
Like an hour long of one 4K video. Sorry, three cameras doing 4K video is like 28 gigs of data. So it's controlling where that goes, how that does, how it downloads, right? Our hard drives gets full up really quick.
Yep.
It's such a painful environment to work in.
It really is, because like going into this, I thought it was something that's pretty like straightforward. It is straightforward in a sense. I mean, like because we have Prateep and we have Case in there, right? They kind of like are very good in their field. Is again because we've never done this. I've never done anything with video. So in the beginning, trying to manage this entire process and even actually editing the videos. Oh my gosh.
Right? I know. One of the things.
Remember there was like a Sunday, you're like,
Yep.
hey, how the video's coming along? I'm like, yo, it's great, but we have a problem. Like, yeah, what's going on? I tried to export this video 4 times and it crashes all 4 times.
Yeah, I remember that day. I remember that day. It was your first time doing this. Like,
It
I
was
mean,
my first time.
kudos to you, because like when we first started this, I'm like, I am not gonna edit videos. Like, I wanted to get into like every part of everything,
Yeah,
but not too into it, right?
yeah.
Like,
You
I
just
wanna
want to understand like what goes into
Absolutely.
that.
You know,
part.
how does the camera setup look like and how
Yeah.
does it work? I don't want to. Prateep was super into it. It's like this is the ISO setting should be
Yeah.
like. This is what this setting of this thing should be
Yeah.
like, right? And this is the type of thing. I'm like, okay, this is your department. You just tell me what you need, bro, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
yeah,
if you
yeah.
get too much into like the micro of it, I guess you
Yeah.
lose yourself in the longer vision. So,
right,
I mean, like that passion for talking about their craft, I guess, led us to like Kasem as well. And he talks about audio, like this is what we need. This is the kind of setting we need.
oh
as
yeah,
well,
I mean,
right?
great.
So we realize we have a great team going on when they're teaching us things
Yeah,
constantly about how to improve things, what
Right.
could be done.
Right.
But like really for us, it's about the controlling of all the assets, right?
yeah,
The people come and go. If that video gets erased, that's gone for life.
yeah,
But like it gets backed up on so many different files. Okay,
Right.
where do those hard drives now go?
right, yeah,
What does the possession chain look like?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a worry that like you didn't see coming when we started doing it.
dude. It's like a process, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to write this out to make sure you streamline it. So next time it's like, hey, you know what? Who's got the audio? Henry. Ravi, Pradeep, no, I don't have the video. Like we have to have a person that is like take ownership of that part of the work. So then you're like, hey, you know what? We're missing an audio. Pradeep, do you have it? Or like Kason, do you have it? So it makes the process a lot easier. And I think we have pretty much mastered that craft.
Yeah.
So far, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the cool things is Airtable.
Oh,
like
amazing.
What a powerful tool that's been for us, right? Like Airtable is just like which if for anyone who doesn't know, is like an online, like a database, kind of like Excel or
On steroids.
or on steroids.
Oh yeah.
Right. Very easy to use, open database. We've been using that to like pretty much figure out, okay, what track the management of like how many guests we have.
Yeah.
We have 189 people signed up now, come on the
Thank you.
podcast, which is amazing. But like all their schedules vary.
Yeah.
We're trying to schedule them, right? We use a multi-stage process.
Yeah.
Send them a link with like all the time slots that's available,
Mm-hmm.
and they pick and choose. We use like Doodle, like a
Yep.
Doodle poll.
Yep.
They can pick a time slot. Once we get their confirmation, because they physically picked the time slot of a day,
Yep.
they booked it in. We send like a calendar invite.
Yep.
Right. So it gets locked in their calendar, and we put a process into like, okay, they're confirmed for this day.
Yep.
So just coming up with that kind of like process.
Yeah.
Streamline so much and save so much time. But
Yeah.
coming up with that to get to that point where we knew this is what the steps were should be done
Right.
was the whole pain point in itself. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been what, like 4 months?
Yeah.
4 months since the beginning to now. And again, like every step of it, like from number one, reaching out to the guests,
Mhm.
to talking to them and understanding, what they build and if they're interested to be a part of this journey with us on BLUMEx podcast, to actually scheduling, through Doodle and calendar invite and talking to them beforehand to make sure that they know where the location is. Yeah, that all has to be written out, and we have that entire process now, which I'm very glad. So it's almost like a game plan. So you know exactly what's gonna happen, when things are gonna happen. Like even when we're posting videos on YouTube, like we have all the videos that are queued up, but then the things like setting up the description, when to release it on LinkedIn, because you have to be strategic about that.
Yeah. Remember like when that was like the biggest thing? Like I kept talking about it every day because I'm like, we need to have the videos primed.
Yeah.
We need to have the videos 2-3 weeks already queued up,
Yeah.
ready to go, because we can't have this last minute scramble.
It's stressful.
The first few episodes we
Yeah.
released were like day of, we're like scrambling. Okay,
Yeah.
where's the description? Where is the thumbnail we needed to put on top? How does that
Right.
look like?
Right.
Right? And we're like barely getting the actual videos like made the day of to release on the schedule.
Yeah. Literally like 6 o'clock that morning, I'll be like editing, trying to export, and
It's crashing and
I'm like
yeah.
looking at the time. I'm like, you know what, 3 hours. Okay, then you kind of like backtrack. If we're gonna release it at 12 o'clock that day, 3 hours, am I still gonna make it? You
Yeah.
know, like, hey, Ravi, I'm sure we're gonna make it, but fingers crossed that my computer doesn't crash. But now Roberts has taken over that process.
Yeah.
Mainly because he has a better computer. No, I'm kidding. But that's like
makes a big
lot-
difference.
It
We
makes a lot
realized
of
that really
difference, yeah,
quickly, right?
yeah.
Like he had like a more modern computer, and just having
Well,
that.
mine is not Stone Age. I mean, like it's still a I'm kidding.
You're a dad. You have a dad with MacBook. No, I'm joking.
That is true.
Yeah, it's
Right,
double the
exactly.
speed. Yeah.
When Pradeep originally told me, he's like, you know what, Henry, it takes me about like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, that's not too bad, right? But when I did it, I'm like, how come it's 4 hours? Like, what am I doing wrong?
And so
Right?
what-
So I'm like
so
calling
what-
up Pradeep. I'm like, hey, it's 4 hours.
So
And then
4
you-
hours being the compiling time for the video to export from
Yeah.
the video maker, right?
Yeah. So there's like, I guess.
Yeah. Like. Word.
Right. I mean, like you have to wait for it to render and then export. I didn't wait to render. I just exported. So while it was exporting, it was actually rendering too. Yeah. So I guess it's like that's the main reason why it took so long. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But man, kudos to you, because like you really jumped in and went and learned Final Cut, how to edit, how to get the videos put into queue, how to render them, how to cut the the different frames.
Right.
So different from different cameras, different sources,
Yeah.
sync up the audio. You went out of your way to learn that, and you did it really quick. I mean, startup life 101. right?
Yeah.
Being able to acquire new skills as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you got right into it, spend time with Pradeep, and took on that task. So I really respect you for doing that.
Yeah.
Because Pradeep before that was like dying, man. Like
Oh no,
he was like
100%.
up at night, like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
trying to like edit, working a full-time job,
Right.
editing and creating other content on his side for his own channel for Wild Rabbit, right? But I mean, that struggle became an issue,
Yeah.
right? Because it was such a heavy load for him to film, edit, and produce
It's
all
time
this.
consuming, yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. I mean, like that's one of the main reason. Like the thing about me is if I want to do something, like you said, like you want to understand that process, but you want to take ownership of that, right? Like, you know, you take on the challenge of, not the challenge, you're great at it, is, you know, hosting, right? Being a host, interviewing or guest. This is 5 guests in one day. The last guest that I invited to come on, I think in the December filming time, and he literally said, "Should I bring a case of Red Bull for Ravi?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you bring a case of Red Bull and also some Arizona too. Like, make a cocktail for him because like the energy that you have to have for like a full day of filming, you have that. So again,
Mhm.
that's for you. Then Prateep, he brings on the expertise of like you know setting up this entire set, lighting, you know, how everything should be angled. Like that's his art. That's his creativity. And like I don't have that. Again, like I just don't have any creative mind in me for that. And you know, Kaysen, he has, you know, the expertise with audio. He's trying to fix up an audio right now. I mean, like everybody has something to do, right? And I just want to jump in and get ownership of something so I can help out.
Mhm.
And one of the bottleneck, I guess, is editing the videos. It wasn't too bad. Like I spent maybe like an hour, not even an hour, maybe like half an hour with Prateep. He
Yeah.
showed me how everything is. And again, like we made it very easy. Like having a standard where things you need to look for and things you have to put in. And then it becomes a like, you know, streamline thing, right? It becomes a lot easier. The
Absolutely.
better, the more you practice, the better you get, right?
No, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the most painful things is like being able to learn new skills.
Yeah.
Going out of your way, out of your comfort zone. I mean, it's something that I'm uncomfortable with for a while, right? So for me, like this whole reason of hosting and doing this, the secondary kind of reason is having more conversations,
Yeah.
getting better at having these kind of long-term discussions,
Yeah.
and for like exercise that muscle, build that endurance.
Right.
Because man, we work in sales. It's all about communication.
You have to talk their ears off.
Right? I mean, for me, the communication came from sales, doing
Right.
like from a call center work all the way down to like field work, talking to customers on on the
Right.
ground, getting better at communication skills. I've
Right.
seen like the benefit of that.
Yeah, that soft skill is very important.
Soft skills nowadays, man, like these hard skills are great to have,
Mhm.
but as software progresses and gives us more access to, like being able to have an outsourced set of hard skills.
Right.
You can use software to do things that you normally couldn't have done just a few years ago,
Yeah.
right? Those soft skills, being able to communicate solutions with people,
Yeah.
right? How to figure out what their pain points are, what their issues are,
Right.
how to better connect them to things. I think it's so important nowadays.
Very important. And I mean, like, it's especially important for entrepreneurs, right? Imagine you have a great idea, fantastic idea, $1 million idea, but if you're not able to communicate or convey that idea to the proper person, then it's lost, right? It doesn't matter if it's gonna make you like millions and millions of dollars, but like you gotta find somebody that's gonna like willing to listen to you. Number
Yeah.
one, to have them engage and really like you know imagine. Oh, you know what? That is very clever, right? But without that, is like you're just another person knocking on the door, can't really explain correctly what you're trying to do, so you lose that attention, right? Like you're like, okay, okay, that's great, but thank you very much, see ya,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, man. So, like, one of the cool things about what we're trying to do here at BLUMEx
Yes.
is just literally meet as many other cool people as possible. People are working on things that interest us,
Yeah.
and figuring out how we can best help them.
Right.
Like we both came from an environment where like we got super tired of the regular 9 to 5, the regular pace of life.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like brought us together towards this project is the ability to, through this as a vehicle, work on cool, real solutions that changes the world around us.
Yeah.
I mean, working on, the type of companies we've met so far. When you go out with a purpose, like if you're going out to meet people at like an event,
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going out of curiosity, just we'll see what happens. You kind of experience what it is.
Right.
But when you go for a purpose,
Yeah.
like I'm here to meet this person.
Yes.
I'm here to learn this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to meet as many people as we can to come on the podcast, etc.
Mhm.
Right? Suddenly, the event has a bigger meaning to you. And you become more hyper focused, and you acquire things. You actually have goals. You have you can achieve, right? When you go out and make these reach outs.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, like we have grown this thing so quickly, it actually takes me back. I didn't expect to have this much interest of people who come on the show. Like, I
Yeah.
thought it'll be a slow build up,
It's definitely overwhelming. Yeah.
right? I mean, we have so much people in the pipeline now, 3 months ahead of time booked out.
Yeah.
It's been great going this with you, right? And going to these events and explaining to people. I remember when we first started, like people, when we didn't have this to show,
Yeah.
we didn't have a set yet.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we want to bring you to, a place at UFT
Yeah.
and give you a spotlight to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
People are like, all right, but like,
We did have something. I mean, like the photo that you guys took with the supplier of like the entire set, like how everything looked like.
Yeah, from
but
our
we
website.
didn't-
Yeah.
But we didn't have any. Oh, that's a fantastic picture.
Yeah.
Who took that? Pradeep?
I think that's Pradeep.
Oh, Pradeep.
It was you? Yeah, it was you. With me?
No. Okay, fine. If you guys don't want to take it, I took
You were
it.
joint. That was a rush hour movement. It was you. I'm like, it's you.
Right. Oh, that is such an iconic. Oh, it's right at the corner right there, supplier. Such an iconic picture. I mean, like the spiral duck that's white with the supplier that's black. I mean, that's the first thing that caught my eye. Like, forget about the set. The set is great. It's there. But that thing, when I first looked at it, it was like supplier. It's amazing. Sorry, just going back to what we were talking about.
Wow, bring up the full picture because it is actually pretty sick.
Oh, there it is. So this is all we had. This is all we had to.
It is, right?
Is it not? It's amazing.
I have no idea.
Okay. If you're not taking ownership, I did it, guys. You can reach out to me if you want to take photos now. I guess I just became a photographer.
This guy's gonna sell a canvas
on demand.
Yeah, man. This
right
is
now, sure, yeah.
when we saw this. When you showed this, like this is our first thing we showing people.
Yeah.
Before we had like an actual video edited out, show anybody. We sent people a package, so showing like this is what the podcast is. This is who partnered up with us. The hub. We're located here. We're running out of here. I mean, the small key aspects of this picture I love. The supplier, like you said, right up there, and then underneath the hub's logo it says "Tomorrow is created here."
Right where the guest is sitting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
So like this, that's why this picture was so key. Like we didn't even notice the details until later on. We had a meeting about this.
Yeah.
We're talking about a few.
You know
weeks
what?
ago.
We shouldn't have said that on the air. You know why? Because when we are successful in the next year or so, because we're gonna get invited to all these, talks and things like this. This is gonna be the photo that we pull up, and everything is done for a purpose.
Yeah.
Not by accident.
Yeah. That's true.
You know how like a lot of times where people showcase, like how things started when they're successful. Everything is kind of like, all the ducks are aligned, all the stars are aligned. But again, like this is what we want to showcase, right? Like talking to entrepreneurs and founders is like, guys, success is beautiful. It really is. But there's also a lot of hard work and a lot of failure, right? Can we talk about that? Like what drives you? What motivates you to do what you do? I mean, like those are the things that, we start talking about and start bouncing ideas off before we started working together, right? So, just going back to how we started, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity of working in tech recently, like maybe the beginning of the year. And after reaching out to you a couple years ago, I'm like, hey, Ravi is in tech. Let me reach out to him to see what's going on. And during that time, like you were doing a lot of cool stuff, right? Because every time I talk to you, like, hey, I'm just getting on the plane, or hey, I just got off the meeting with this tech company, and they're looking into development, things like that. I'm like, I was so engaged.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, let's come meet. And the first time we met was here at the hub, and you showed me like this is the startup world. This is the startup life. Because before it's like, you kind of watch it on TV, right? Silicon Valley and their shows,
Yep.
or just like read about it. but like you're actually here. You kind of feel that energy. And I mean, like the hub is a great place to start, right?
Absolutely.
At least in Scarborough, right?
Absolutely.
Gray here, the director, he's amazing. He's phenomenal. You showed me the ways, and we started talking. We started bouncing ideas, and we're like, hey, we can definitely do something together, right? And that's how all these things started.
Yeah, it started spiraling together.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main things for us is whiteboarding, right? You know how much I love my whiteboard. Like for me, I got so immersed in the startup world that like everything else seems so alien, right? Like, cause
Sorry,
like
so what?
I've become so immersed in the startup world now
Right.
that I'm like, why would anyone do anything else?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you go to your way to create something?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it was not Warren Buffett, but someone around his capacity said this, right? It's like, why would you spend why not spend a few years creating an asset
Mhm.
that'll provide you income?
Yeah.
Rather than spending years building someone else's asset.
Yep.
That's what you talk about a job versus entrepreneurship wise, right? Entrepreneurship, whether you're building like a company or like a craft for yourself, you're a photographer, on your personality or a podcast or whatever it is, you create something that becomes your vehicle,
Right.
right? That can bring you income.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the ideal situation.
Right.
That is, I think, it looks like the future of work right there, where people focus and build things that provide them income, rather than just sit and trying to become a thing within a larger thing,
Right.
like a subset, like a cog in the machine,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think to Capstone 2.0. That's how it looks like the future of work. More and more, we meet people every day.
Yeah.
Who are making that transition now.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like for one example, like a corporate lawyer that wants to, he's still in law, but he wants to make enough money so then he can have his own startup, which is completely, I mean, like 360 degrees, like so far away from law that it's like, really? That's what he wants to do? But
Yep.
kudos to him, right?
Yep.
Like he's young and he has a passion for something that he loves and he's gonna, chase that.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I think that's one of the things one of the benefits of our generation, like what
Yeah.
the times we're in right now, is that people are more empowered than ever before to go out and create something.
Yeah.
Like develop themselves, focus on things that actually make them genuinely happy, they enjoy doing. Like I enjoy this. I enjoy sitting here and talking to great people, right? I mean, Pradeep enjoys his craft of making videos and developing all these things.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So we got confirmation.
Right? Me and Pradeep will be up at like 3 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? I know he's up. He's up.
Yeah.
He's up and editing and working on films and all this. And I'll call him like, hey, I'm up with this idea and all this idea. And like those creative minds, I love this one quote. I had it written down on like a journal, like for a few years now.
Mhm.
And it's literally like, we are the dreamers who don't sleep.
We are the dreamers that do not sleep.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I was in a WhatsApp group, and literally, one of my sales managers simply, right, just dropped it in there, and I was like staring at it for a good while. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
That idea, like I met so much passionate people through this podcast and before and outside of this. The people that
Definitely,
like are so captivated with what they do, that keeps them up at night.
Yeah.
Right? They are so pursuing this vision of what they can create or what they can do or what they want to work on, that prevents them from actually sleeping. They're chasing a living dream. Right? That's what it is.
Right. I mean, when you're so passionate about like the things that you do, it's not even like work anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just another thing that you do in life that you're just passionate about. It just so happens that if you make a couple $1 million, why not? Why not? Right.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, and like you said, through this podcast, we have the opportunity of meeting a lot of these people, founders, entrepreneurs, and it's a really good foundation to really build like our story on top of that, because they've gone through a lot of things. For example, I'm married with 2 children, and one of the Matthew. When we met Matthew at the pitch competition
From New Vote, yeah.
from New Vote, and he said he was a father too, and it was like instant connection.
Yep.
Right? Like you're a founder of a company doing amazing things and going to do very amazing things in the future. It's like now you have kids, right? That question comes like being an entrepreneur. You don't know when your paycheck's gonna come, right? You don't have that steady income. You don't have that set schedule 9 to 5. Like how do you operate around that, right? But I mean, we were talking about it, several months ago. It's the family. We're doing it for our family. We're doing it for ourselves, yes, but we're also doing it for the family as well too, right? I want to actually show this to my kids and say, you know what, um, the sky's the limit, right? If you really put your mind to it, don't let the society, dictate what you're gonna do. Like 9 to 5, banking, a doctor, engineer. It's not that. Whatever drive you, right? Whatever motivates you, whatever that you seek to be, very like to do something that's great, and you believe in it, and you truly believe in it, go do it.
Yeah.
Go do
Yeah, and I think like one of the main reasons, like now, I feel like you have to. Nowadays in today's environment, you have to do that.
Right. Yeah.
In order to not just survive, but literally to to thrive in the marketplace. Um, the fourth industrial revolution. Like I talk about it on every podcast now.
Because it's so real.
It's so real.
Yeah.
The ability that technology is putting into our fingertips, it's the tools of empowerment. People who do not understand it or feel scared by it, they see the waves of change happening so rapidly, they're not used to it. But those who are like comfortable surfing that wavy ground, I mean, they're going on a ride, right? I mean, and that's what I want to do. I want to take that ride. I want to see where these changes take us. Because I'm so unhappy with like what the regular state of what society pushes us towards, right? Of what's stable, of how things should be.
Right.
Okay, the 9 to 5, sitting in, sitting in class and getting those degrees. Like I have learned so much off YouTube, and Pradeep talks about this as well, and we talk about this. Like, how many skills there is available?
Dude, Y Combinator,
right?
I watch that like every single morning. I'm not even in LA, doing their program, but it's like as if I already know a lot of the instructors and speakers. Is because they put all their content online. They're great. You hear feedback from the cohort, and a lot of them like really relate to us too, right? Because we're a startup as well too.
Absolutely.
And the amount of content now compared to when you started 3 years ago.
Yep.
Gosh.
Yeah. No, 2013. So
2013.
Yeah, about 5 years ago now. Back then, man, there's nothing. Like you can Google as much as you want. Like there's no new resource out there.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
how come you don't know this, Google?
Right?
Yeah.
Like no one's creating that content. No
Yeah.
one is out there doing that. At least not in bulk. Not like it's supposed to be. Anyways, like nowadays, like with YouTube especially, right?
Yeah.
Like YouTube is being compared to like the inventing of the printing press, Gutenberg printing press, where like the first time, like the recorded like speech, recorded interactions can be recorded and preserved in perpetuity, right? Just like the written word, by printing press made it cheaper, so you can actually print out more stuff. So the written word could be duplicated and preserved for eons, for like centuries to come. With YouTube, we can now preserve this communication, the audio, the visual, like for the first time that is like can be turned into an entity that can be stored and saved and distributed to a wide network of people. And it's changing the way people are distributing information.
Yep.
That's one of the main reasons why I'm so interested in doing this, is we get the opportunity to preserve the thoughts and the feelings of the times we're in.
Yeah.
And be able to distribute that to multiple people. It's interesting.
It's very interesting. Like all the information at the tip of your finger.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't even need to be a master or whatever now, because everybody has a master on YouTube and a degree on Google. As long as you know what you're looking for, there's a ton of content. Like, I mean, in the beginning, Prateep was like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about Final Cut. It's not that bad. Because I tried learning, back in high school, Photoshop. I was the worst at it, right? Yeah. It's like they're trying to teach you like to do these like cut and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna learn it. I'm just not that type of person. And Prateep's like, hey, Henry, don't worry. Final Cut is extremely easy. For me, it was like, yeah, that's gonna be like another Photoshop scenario, right? Just get my wife to do it. Then when he showed me, he's like, there's a lot of things on YouTube. And literally, I had some issue and I just Googled exactly what I saw. Like there was an error or whatever. And there's like a step-by-step for you to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like just to upload on YouTube just for the people.
Yeah.
Not over like 500,000 views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the accessibility, that's what one of the things that are interesting, right? For me, I'm always listening to something, whether it's an audiobook or a podcast
Oh, podcast,
or
100%,
like a video, right? I just have it in the background just running because like it gives you like an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I wanted to like double down back into this space, right, into creating content and figuring out what that is, like I started looking at the content I liked. Joe Rogan, randomly got into Joe Rogan 2.5 years ago. Been
Yeah.
addicted and hooked ever since. Went
Yeah.
through so many hours of that content. What's it on Bloomberg? What's the guy? Well, I forgot the show, but on Bloomberg there's like a great show that talks to like the CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies, right? Just
Oh yeah, you
complete-
showed me that. Yeah. But
Right.
honestly, Ravi, you're my Joe.
Yeah, yeah,
I tell him this all the time because a lot of times we spend in the car driving downtown to meetings and events and things like this. You're always able to pull knowledge and like interesting things. Like it's not even in the same category. It's like every single time we have a chat, it could be about sci-fi. It could be about movies. It could be about tech. It could be about like history in general. And you're always able to post some knowledge where like I didn't even know myself, like things about China, for instance, right? And so basically you're my Joe Rogan because Joe does that, right? Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
has this great podcast where he invites like very famous people, like
Yeah.
not even famous, like just around like different category,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Different type of
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that's
different type.
that's where the inspiration really came from because I've always been interested in so many different things,
yeah.
and it's always feel like I've always been forced to figure out, oh, what's the one thing you're good at? Go and focus on one lane. Go do this. I'm like, no, I always want to learn about everything. I'm just so interested in everything. So my mind always been scatterbrained like that. I'd rather know a little bit of everything than master of one, right? That's always been my difficulty. So the ability, like I see what Joe is doing.
Mm.
The ability to bring on people from different fields. So he'll bring on like a comedian. The
Yeah.
next episode have like a physicist
Yeah.
or like a ecologist, like a hunter, like an ultra marathon runner, like
Edward Snowden.
Edward
like,
Snowden
what
came
was
on,
that? Yeah, it's
right?
crazy.
Like he'll bring all these different people on and just explore different topics with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that sounds like the most fun thing ever to do. So for me, my hope is to build this thing to a point where we can bring on some of the most interesting people.
Yeah.
And just talk about things.
Yeah.
And like that sounds like amazing to me.
Well, I mean, like we're on track to do that, right? Like this is the 25th episode, but we have a whole line of guests. What was that?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
What's the worst experience you guys
The worst experience.
Okay. I know mine. So
No, let's repeat the.
yeah.
What
So
Pratik was
the
saying.
question is, Pradeep's asking, is what's been the best and the
And the
absolute worst
Yeah.
experience while running this podcast?
Right.
So I'll talk about mine, and
Okay.
you can talk about yours. For me, the best experience, and you know this, Henry, is basically when each video releases.
Mm.
Like I devour that content. Like I'm looking at, I'm like, I don't even like just listening to be like, be a narcissist of hear myself talk.
Right.
It's more like, wow, we
Because you
built
said how much you hated that,
Oh.
right?
but like I'm just like, wow, we did this.
Yeah.
We built this, right? That every transition, every cut, the content created. I'm just looking at that and I'm like, holy crap, we created something together,
Right.
us. So my best moment is definitely when the first video released, and I saw it in the fullest form on YouTube playing, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But the best has always been when every new video drops. Like the last one when we released Dikshan, you called me, and we released it, and I'm sitting there watching it. And my first thing was like, wow, Henry, man, this is amazing.
This was
We did this.
amazing episode. I'm like, yeah, man.
And Dikshan was really good.
Yeah, he
on that
was
episode.
really good. Yeah, he dropped a lot of gem. Yeah.
But yeah, so just that's been the best. Just seeing the final thing being done, being put up,
Yeah.
right? And the worst, you know where I'm going with the worst. Sorry.
Mm.
So
I don't know.
if anyway you guys been paying attention, we recently had one of our videos taken down from YouTube.
Yeah.
It was Lawrence's episode, which was going viral at the time.
Oh my
Lawrence
goodness. That day he was that day when we released the episode, he was announced the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer of the City of Toronto.
Yeah.
When he came on the podcast, he was a CIO.
Yeah.
And like we were just chatting after the fact, and so we asked him the question, like, do you think you're gonna get the job? And you know, Lawrence, amazing dude, basically said, you know what, they're hiring from outside, they're considering different candidates. So he's really chill about it, right? Like that's really why he was such a great guest and like a person as well too. So we didn't really think too much about it, right? Like the CTO, like after that episode. But that day when it released, I saw that on Twitter, and I'm like, Ravi, Lawrence Etta just announced, or like the City of Toronto just announced that Lawrence Etta is now the CTO. The same timing that we were gonna drop that episode.
Yeah, and
how amazing was that?
Yep, the episode
Timed perfectly.
The episode dropped.
Yeah.
Lawrence reshared
We
it.
didn't have to re-queue to get him on that. Like it was that day.
That day, yeah.
For him.
That day is synchronicity, right? Just
Yeah.
lined up. And we released the video.
The
Lawrence
universe
reshared it,
responded.
right? And then everyone, like City of Toronto employees, resharing it, liking
Yeah.
it, going viral on LinkedIn. And then we get a link alert. I woke up next day. Like I checked the YouTube analytics, like there's like 16 times a day,
Yeah.
like 3 times an hour. I'm sending screenshots in our group. I'm like, yo, we got another follower, we got another follower, we got
Yeah,
another
right.
follower.
Every single one. No,
Right?
no, not that bad, but like he's on the
I'm on the
beam with
ball,
that,
right?
yeah.
I want to see how this thing grows, what the response is, what the
Mhm.
feedback is. When do people watch this? Like, I'm trying to learn as much as I could, so we can just keep it going and perfect this. But next day, I wake up to an email from YouTube saying that one of your videos has been removed for copyright infringement. And I was like, what? And I look at the video. It's literally Lawrence's video,
Yeah.
which at that time had like our most the video with the most traction in our record, right?
Right.
With all due rights. And man, that's 100% the worst moment, right? Like, what the heck just happened? And just to go a little bit more in detail, and then you can jump into your story here. But what ended up happening was we rent some of all our lights and things from
Yep.
Long and McQuaid.
Yep.
It's a musical rental company here. I've been going there for years. We go there for about 2 times a week. And the day we started recording these, we didn't have the full delivery system. We didn't know how the final product going to look like. We didn't have the sound set up. We didn't even have like the channel set up yet.
Mm-hmm.
But in August we started putting the videos together. The first release ready videos,
Right.
being edited and all that. So we needed an intro and an outro, and for that we needed audio done. And the day literally after the podcast, our 5th or 10th podcast we recorded. We started talking about, okay, we need to get this. For me, I just want to release raw. I'm like, whatever let's just release. We don't have to be fully formed yet.
Right.
Just get content out there and just get the response back. And
Yeah.
Pradeep's like, no, man. Anything with the Wild Rabbit stamp has to be approved now. He was literally like, if we're going to do this, we got to do this properly.
Right. No, for sure.
It's got to be released nicely. It's got to seem like it's been thought out properly and actually been
Right.
delivered properly. It can't be just a rush job. We
We
went through the humps, yeah.
It-
And
right
one of the
now
things
it's
I
very
really-
smooth. Yeah, 100%.
One of the things I really appreciate about Pradeep is his pushback always
Yeah.
to push back for quality,
Yeah.
right? As much as I want to go for speed, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd rather put something out there
Yeah.
and just learn from audience feedback and learn how it goes. He's like, no, what you release is just as important as releasing.
Right.
And I appreciate that right away, right?
No, 100%. I mean, like he already have something in his mind, like what the finished product would look like. Maybe not having an idea, like with an intro and outro, like what type of intro outro. But it's great. I mean, that really helped us along, right?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the times when I talk to potential guests, so one of the things that I say is, we really care about the production value, and we want to create something that we're all very comfortable of sharing. That we're like, we put a lot of hard work on. Look at the camera setup right here. I remember when somebody gave us a feedback was like, your set is a little too dark. Like you need more lighting. Like this is the set that
This is
like,
the
this is the mood
This is the
that we're
ambience.
trying to.
This is the ambience.
The ambience, exactly,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But no, actually, our first few episodes, remember, we didn't have the box lights,
box
so
light,
like it was
yeah.
actually a lot darker.
Right.
We got add on, but we've been learning.
Yep.
right, as a delivery. And that's what I wanted. I'm like, as the faster we can release, the faster we can learn and see what it looks like, the feedback is, and grow from there. And we've been doing that. But anyways, for the day we decided, I'm like, okay, we need to get an intro and outro done. We were returning the equipment right after a shoot. Ran literally into somebody along. I'm equating an employee there. I'm not going to name the names for the sake of it, but said that this is what they do.
Yeah.
They just graduated from a film school,
Mhm.
right? This is what they do. This is when they get their name out. They're willing to help work with us just to get their name out. So I'm like, all right, perfect. We
Yeah.
we just change contacts, and you know what? He was actually great.
It was amazing.
He
Yeah, the
did
intro,
an
outro was
amazing
really good.
job. He was so quick,
Yeah.
so responsive. Did a great job.
Mhm.
And as per agreement, every time we released, we gave him a credit.
Yeah.
Right, because all he wanted was a name to be out there, right? And I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I mean, what should have been done as a written agreement. And I see it on my
Sure.
part.
Yeah, yeah.
But we went forward because I wanted speed, right? I wanted to get this out there, see
Yeah.
if people like.
Oh, you were super excited. I remember we were waiting for the equipment and came back. You're like, hey, Henry, like, I just met somebody that's going to do our music. Wow, great.
We were literally talking about the day before, and
Yeah.
we found somebody who can do it. Like startup life, right? Like we're like moving as fast as
Right.
possible.
And I asked that
And-
question. I'm like, so how much is he going to charge? You're like, no, he just wants to help out, right? Like, and put him on as a credit. I said, that's great. That's brilliant. Let's
Yep.
do it.
So I mean, he created the video. We exchanged like an email confirmation. It's like, hey, you're free to use my. He said you're free to use my audio,
Music, yeah.
my music, the content I created,
Mhm.
as long as give me credit.
Mhm.
Okay. Every video we did that, but like very quickly it became the relationship soured.
Mm.
I mean, after our first few actual releases, when he saw the full content, 'cause up to that point he didn't see anything we created.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything up. We didn't have any web presence. He's like, he saw what we were doing, and he's like, you guys are making money from it. And I'm like, yes. I mean, the whole point of this is to be a venture. We want to create a venue, a platform to talk to people, do these kind of things. That's going to require money.
Mhm.
We got to pay people to come and do their work. We got to do all this. Got to increase our equipment, our budget increase over time, right? This is meant to be a venture. And he's like, well, in that case, I need to charge for my work.
Right. I mean, we're not monetizing, through the podcast, but renting equipment, renting cameras, 4K cameras, is not cheap stuff.
Yeah.
It's not cheap stuff. And I mean, like the first couple episodes, like we actually have to pull money out from our own pockets just
Yep.
so then we can get the best equipment, or at least, very ideal equipment that we can shoot this, right? 4K cameras.
I mean, we've been blessed to have some great sponsors. I mean, we've had MCRO come
MCRO,
in,
yep.
right? Navala, Netwin Place, Torrent came in,
Yep.
right, as an investor later after Dikshant's episode. We had the Firm Group came in and helped us with our initial equipment
Right.
way before we even had anything.
Right.
They gave us some capital to get started. So we had a great bunch of people, and
And the
most
hub?
of
Don't
and the
forget
hub.
about the hub. Yeah, the space.
Gray
there.
with the hub has been
Yep.
super. So when I first brought this, I didn't tell you. I don't know if I told you the story. So when I first brought this to Gray's attention, I'm like, I want to create a podcast out of here.
Mhm.
But I told him I want to do three things. I want to create a podcast. I want to create a meetup group,
Mhm.
and I wanted to
Pitch
create a
competition.
pitch competition. I want to see which is the best way I can get people to interact.
Yeah.
Bring them all together. The podcast became my favorite. But like to test it out, I'm like, I need at least 2 cameras. I was like, describing what I needed. He's like, well, I have a camera, and you can use that.
Great.
Right, great.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I'm like, oh, perfect. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
He went out and bought a secondary camera. He bought it.
Wow. Okay.
Went and bought it, and came back to me the next day and presented to me. Like, here's the SD cards. Here's a camera. Here's a stand. Here's what you need. Here's even like a wireless mic setup you can use to get started.
Right.
And I'm like, what? What do you mean, Gray? He bought out his own money,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he just and I was really taken back. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
He's like, no, don't worry. Like, I needed a better camera anyways.
Yeah.
When you're done using this, I just sell
Yeah.
the first camera off. But
Gray would do that for you.
but Gray's
yeah.
like that kind of guy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's just like, you want to start something? He's like, let me help whatever way I can.
Mhm.
I mean, unfortunately we never actually used the cameras
Okay.
because Pradeep came in. I mean, he came with his 4K Parasonic, right? The 4K camera.
Okay.
And like because that came in, we need to have other 4K cameras.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we suddenly had a budget,
Yeah.
right? To have to implement.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just suddenly started growing. But again, I was like, it took a month and a half after that initial moment, but I'll never forget Gray ever offering that.
Yep.
But again, that's a tangent story. So going back, I mean, worst times,
Back to the beginning.
back to the
when-
beginning, the
when
worst
this all
of
started.
times was literally having the video pulled,
Yeah.
especially with going viral, and having a pretty much like a demand.
Yeah.
Like, this is how much I want.
Yeah.
And later we found out he tried to get every video pulled.
It was like a hostage situation.
And-
No, you know what?
Yeah.
You know, to speak
Absolutely.
on that, he did message me after the fact that after we paid for the license, I'm not gonna say ransom, but I mean like after we paid for the
I mean, it's fair. We believe in paying
the
paying
right-
artists
oh, no,
for their work.
100%, yeah,
I mean, what main reason we have a bunch of artists working with us is like, you know, we do
yeah,
take care of everyone's payments, things like
right,
that.
yeah,
But he offered his services for this, and then after it's changed his mind,
yeah,
I just felt that was very predatory. Like it wasn't even that much money.
yeah. No,
That's
it
the
wasn't.
worst
It
part.
wasn't. But you know what? I'm gonna defend him on the last part where he did message me saying that I think he tried to flag multiple videos, but for some reason the one for Lawrence went through was weird, right? And
Maybe because of the latest video.
maybe could be. So
Mhm.
during that night after we had paid him, and he he put that video back up, or like he retracted
Yep.
his complaint. He messaged me. He's like, you know what? I had flagged other videos as well too, but I have actually retracted them. So that's what you saw. Like you got a notification.
Just after
saying-
we after
that was
we made
after,
payment and
after
all
the
that.
fact.
like,
Yeah, that's after the
I
fact.
mean, I just was horrified about the experience in general, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, rightfully so, because we like put a lot of effort into producing these videos, especially when Lauren's video was gaining a lot of traction. A lot of people from the city was watching it. It was all over LinkedIn, and he commented on it as well too. It's not a good look on us, right? It's not a good look on us.
it was horrible because we were starting our brand, and literally
Yeah.
our most viewed video was showing content infringement.
Mm-hmm.
So that was rough, definitely. And like that was a rough moment,
Yeah,
definitely. But
definitely. Yeah.
you know what? Like one of the main things was everybody was telling me was like, you know what, this is gonna be nothing. You're gonna solve this. You're gonna keep going.
Yeah, you're gonna move on. We're
Like we even talked to our legal team, and they're like, you know what, don't worry about this.
yeah.
Like
This is like a pebble.
Yeah.
In the journey.
exactly.
Like, you won't even feel it after the 100th episode. We'll all be here laughing about it, and it'll be great. Sorry, were you done with the
Yeah,
worst moment?
I mean that was a
So-
long-winded answer, but yeah, go ahead, man.
So I
Your
think the
turn.
best moment here is again definitely when the release of the videos,
Mm.
but it's actually working together as a team. I haven't really had the sense of a community and working in a team for a very long time.
Yeah.
For a very long time, and I'll tell you why. When I was working at the engineering company, we started off very small. It was like a one-person department, but as you grow, like we just hired engineers and things like that. So we were a team, yes, but it wasn't a team effort that made everything come together. You know what I mean? Like the way that everything happened here. So everything from going to events, talking to potential guests, then later talking to them over the phone to see if everything works out, and coming onto the podcast, seeing how everybody comes in, on a Sunday, 8 o'clock. Sorry,
Sure.
not 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is when we start chatting. Like 10:30, 11 o'clock, setting the whole set up and like making this work and leaving home like at 10 or 11 o'clock. But like putting all these efforts together, Pradeep, Kaysen, you, Roberts, and everybody combined effort to make this happen. I think that's like the best thing
Definitely.
to take away from this.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely the fact that everyone comes here super excited, super
Yep.
pumped, spend the whole day together, and
Yeah.
like love the experience of that.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
mean,
great.
like in between shoots, we'll go out, like grab food, and we'll talk about like, hey, what things that we have to like change through the set in terms of like positioning of the lighting, positioning of the camera, to like Ravi, stuff like just feedback. I mean, like that process of it is great, and having to write that process out to streamline it was amazing as well too. This whole entire journey had been amazing.
Mhm.
So I think it's a little cliche to say, oh, everything's great, but it really was. It really was. It really brought us together.
Yep.
Right, as a team,
No, definitely.
and I think we're really proud of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's really proud, and I think it's just going to keep better, getting better.
Absolutely, man.
right?
And
You know what? He kind of took my worst, but then I'm gonna have to think of another worse. Uh, like we were both on like it was the same situation, but I guess we're like different, like mindset on that because when I was talking to Ravi, his mind was somewhere else. Remember?
yeah,
He was just like he was very, rightfully so. Like there's a lot of
that was
anger
the
there.
emotional end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
You were definitely-
that definitely because for me it was like I think it was like the daddy in me was like, you know what? Somebody's already angry. I can't be angry as well too. Like I have to think, okay, how do we resolve this, right?
Yeah.
So I was chatting with that person through like first I got him to talk on the phone, then whatever he said on the phone, he kind of did not do by not releasing or retracting his comment and releasing the video. I've agreed to pay to transfer the money that day and the exact
Yep.
time that we talked. But anyway, he just wanted to have all the documents signed. He wouldn't have even allow me to like send him the documents to sign because he like was not in
The
city,
province,
the
yeah.
province, right?
But yeah.
So just
definitely.
that process of it was just like you know what it was terrible. It was bad. It was a
Yeah.
bad feeling.
Yeah.
It was a very bad feeling.
Absolutely. You know what? It was a good learning curve because it threw us that curveball. Because like we talked about this a lot, like synchronicity, how things just seem to line up, right? When you're reaching for something and you keep calling out the universe. When you have the vision, you're chasing after something.
Yeah.
Things just kind of weirdly line up
Yeah.
because you're out looking for it.
Yep.
You're out looking for a solution. You understand the problem you're facing, and you're out looking for it.
Yeah.
Things kind of line up and find each
It's
other.
like you're sending a message in the universe, and somehow the universe heard it, and they're sending a response back.
Exactly.
Right.
And I mean, we've been experiencing that a lot. And
Yes.
having these like these pebbles, like you mentioned it,
Mm.
right? These little like
Small
hoops to
obstacles.
these obstacles it really makes you reflect. Like, oh, maybe it's good to sometimes reflect a little bit,
Mm.
right? To take a step back and just not just chase, because we get so used to the ups and downs of going after opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that it's also good to stop back and reflect. Like, hey, this is an opportunity we want to take. And I think we need more of that too, right? More of those spaces to interconnect. So, I mean, one of the things we're excited about is working on getting new office space, right?
Oh yes.
Right. The hub's been great to work out of.
Yep.
I move out of. Hey, sorry, Pradeep. I think someone's here. Our next guest. Yeah. So I mean, this guy's so
Now,
casual.
now he tells us.
Now he tells us.
Yeah.
So
it's okay. This is all raw. This is real emotion.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
great, yeah.
So I mean, yeah. I mean, let's wrap up with that. I mean, I've really enjoyed this process. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
really glad that
100%.
you joined the team, Henry, and we have a great team behind us.
The best.
And man, looking to do way more of these.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think this is just the beginning, and where this will take us, we don't know. We don't know, but I think it's bright.
Cool.
Yeah.
Enough with that, man.
Okay. Boom,
Yeah,
boom. Boom, boom.
Okay.